All right, so this is Unit 1, Lesson 2, which is measuring line segments. Line segments can be measured because they have a beginning and an end, or a beginning and an end. So you can measure a line. You can measure a line segment because it has stopping points on the end. Our essential question for this lesson is, how can the length of line segments be found? There's actually a couple of different ways. In the past, you measure the length of something, but we're going to look at some ways to mathematically calculate depending on what information you've been given about the line segment. You can always refer back to textbook pages 13 through 16 if you just want to go read the book. That's entirely up to you based on your preference. I do want to go over a couple of throwback kind of vocabulary words. These are not things that you're learning new right now, but things that you definitely need to keep in mind. The first thing is that length and distance for us in geometry mean the same thing. If you can find the length of this line segment, then you can find the distance from here to here. And it seems kind of, obvious, but as we move along through some topics in geometry that are a little more complicated, people tend to lose sight of the fact that length and distance are the same thing. Absolute value, remember, absolute value is the distance a number is from 0 on a number line. Since it's a length, it's always going to be positive. It's never, ever negative. The symbol for absolute value is the 2 vertical bars. A good illustration of that is if you look at traveling, say from school to your house or from your house to school, if you go from here to here, maybe it's 4.8 miles. If you go from here to here and it's 4.8 miles, or you go from here to here, it's still 4.8 miles. It never changes, it's never negative. So with absolute value, all we do is we take off the negative sign and it's just whatever the digits are. So negative 48, the absolute value is 48. That's because negative 48 is 48 spaces from 0. It works with decimals too. Same thing, just drop off the negative sign. Okay, so the first way that we can find the length of a line segment is we absolutely can measure the length of a line segment. I can use a ruler and determine that this is, 5.1 centimeters, or I can use a ruler and determine that this is 2 inches. I could also use other methods, like I could use a sticky note. That could be my unit of measurement. I could say this is 1 sticky note long, 1 unit long. So measuring is like the simple way to find the length. We're not going to have that happen very often. Sort of the medium way is to calculate. And this is in the foldable that you should probably have copied down off of the notes or in the note pages. But I want to skip down here. If we know a line segment is EF, this is the line segment. EF is how long, the length of the line segment. To find EF, we can do it 2 ways. We can do whatever F is minus E and do the absolute value, or we can do the absolute value of E minus F. So basically, we're going to take the 2 coordinates and subtract them. So let's say that E is negative 18. and f is 9. So I'm going to do f minus e, so 9 minus negative 18, and I get the absolute value of 27. If I do that, it's 27 units long. Now if I go the other way, instead of doing f minus e, I do e minus f. I still get negative 18 minus 9. I get a negative 27, which makes my answer 27. So they're the same thing. And that's all you do, is you just subtract the two coordinates. You subtract, 4 minus negative 3 or negative 3 minus 4, and then take the absolute value. And we're going to practice that some together, so don't worry. Now the last, and probably the way that we're going to do the most commonly in class is algebraically. So yay, algebra! Lots of things that we do in here are based on some common sense sort of stuff. Common sense, simple truth things in math are generally referred to as postulates. We're going to talk about something called a segment addition postulate. And what that is, let's say you are at your friend's house and you want to go all the way to your grandmother's house. That's 7 blocks. Now let's say you live 3 blocks from your friend's house and you and your grandmother live 4 blocks apart. If you go from here to here, you went 3 plus 4, which is 7. So this plus this is the same as this. So let me write that down for you. The segment addition postulate just says that Fy plus Yg equals Fg. That's it. Makes sense, right? Okay. So I can use that to solve some problems. And the first thing I need to do is set up an equation. I need to set up something that is equal. So if I have a line segment here and I know that AC is 23 centimeters and BC is 18 centimeters, I'm going to set that up and I'm going to say AB plus BC is going to be equal to AC. This plus this equals the whole thing. So AB, I don't know what that is, so I'm going to bring that down. But I know that BC is 18, so I'm going to put 18 right here. And I know that AC is 23. Now I'm going to subtract 18 from both sides. That goes away, becomes 0. And then this comes down. So AB, 23 minus 18 is 5. So for this plus this to be 23, this has to be 5. That easy. You just add them together. Now, there are some special circumstances when you are dealing with something called the midpoint. And the midpoint and bisector are two similar words, or two related words. Both of them have to do with cutting a segment or an angle in half. So in this case, the midpoint M cuts this segment in half. Well, if we cut something in half, anybody who's ever had to share something with their brother or sister knows that half means equal. And if you don't cut it in half, then there's going to be a big fight because they're not the same. So AM is this line segment right here, 4x minus 8. MB is this line segment here, 3x plus 4. So let's take a look at those. AM, I know AM plus, or I'm sorry, AM equals MB. So I'm going to take this and put it in here. 3x plus 14 and 4x minus 8. And those two things are equal to each other. So I'm going to solve. I'll do minus 14 minus 14. This becomes 0. I'm going to subtract 4x and subtract 4x. I get negative 22 equals negative 1x. And then I'm going to divide by negative 1 and divide by negative 1. I get 22 equals x. So what I wanted to do, though, was find AB. So I have to go put this back in here. So 4x minus 8, 4 times 22 minus 8, is 88 minus 8. So that's 80. So AM equals 80. Now you might be tempted to go calculate this up here. Go ahead if you want to. But didn't we say that this and this are equal? So if AM is 80, then MB is 80. So 80 plus 80 equals 160, and that is AB. Now, I know this was quick. I just want to give you a little bit of an introduction to how all of this works, and then we are going to work on this in class together. I just wanted to kind of introduce you to it a little bit, but don't panic. We're going to take care of this in class. Just get your notes copied down, read the book a little bit if you can, and be ready to talk about this in class tomorrow.